Hello again. In this episode, we are going to talk about the best way to establish or set up a living trust. Many times people begin to explore this topic and they get sort of led into just having an equal distribution trust because of the way the attorney asks you certain questions, and they don't want to make it complicated, and it ends up ruining half of the children in this country the way most attorneys set up a living trust. So I'm going to challenge that and show you a far better way to empower those that you care about, that you're leaving behind and protecting your assets. Get ready. You're going to see opportunities that you didn't even know existed before as I talk about the differences in the way to set up a living trust. I'm Doug Andrew, and I've been a financial strategist helping people optimize financial assets and minimize taxes, but also helping them set up their estate so that they don't lose what they've taken their lifetime to accumulate. They don't outlive their money, but most people usually leave behind something that would have sustained them had they lived longer. If you have your money in a traditional trust, it ruins half of the kids in this country, and I'm going to explain first why that happens. When you meet with an attorney, usually they'll talk for 10 or 15 minutes and use some financial and estate planning legalese jargon, and most people nod like you know what they're talking about, and you don't. And then they begin to say, now, you want to be fair, don't you? You want to divide all this up equally, don't you? And as soon as you get nodding up and down, they go, hot diggity dog, I got another one here. Now it's so simple. They just take your assets and put it in the trust, and they take your kids' names, and when you die, it's divided up equally and dumped in their laps. And it's very easy because it's the way the boilerplate trust document is established. I have found that regardless of its complexity, traditional financial planning and estate planning has become a process of what I call 4Ds. They divide up your assets, especially when you die, but sometimes before you die, and kids sit around, oh, you're going to give us annual gifts? I'm just going to sit back. I'm going to quit my job, and it ruins half the kids in this country when it discourages saving money. It encourages extraordinary consumption, and it takes families from we, together we're better, to me. Oh, when do I get my share? And so many times they think they're saving tax by deferring. We dispel that myth in a lot of our other episodes, but then it gets dumped or distributed to ill-prepared heirs, and what happens? It dissipates. Wealth is transferred through traditional trust without a system that fosters responsibility and accountability. And I've seen many times children just hover around like vultures, waiting for mom or dad, the patriarch or matriarch, to die. I've seen some that when they started to gift, they went, oh, wow, are you going to do this every year? Oh, well, how healthy are you, Dad? Golly, do I have to wait until you kick the bucket to get the rest? And it just ruins some of them. So Abraham Lincoln said the worst thing you can do for those you love is the things they can do for themselves. And if you're just dumping money in their lap, that's what happens. Robert Frost said every affluent father wishes he knew how to give his sons the hardships that made him rich. But we don't want to see our kids suffer, but in our effort to help them, we actually hinder them. And I've mentioned on other episodes that I've had very successful people come to me and I'd say, how did you build this empire? You're worth $500 million. And oh, wow. Well, I was raised after the Great Depression, and my kids, they won't have to work as hard as I did because my parents taught me the value of work, but my kids won't have to do that. And then 2 or 3 decades later, they would come in and I'd say, how are things going? After their adult children had moved back home several times. And they go, Doug, I don't know what's wrong with my kids. They don't even know how to work. And I would say, well, maybe you stole that from them. Maybe in your effort to help them, you took away what made a man out of you. You always said you had to overcome struggles, and that's where you learned, and you took that away from maybe your children. So what's the solution? Many times you have to abolish that entitlement mentality. And so we talk about equal opportunities when you set up a trust instead of equal distribution, because there's nothing more unequal than the equal distribution to unequals. Most trusts are set up in an equal distribution method where when you die, it's just divided up equally and dumped in their laps. And most of the time, it ruins about 50% or slightly more of the kids who just wait around for their share, versus equal opportunities where you might do matching funds, or the money is set up in the family bank for them to borrow and pay back the money for college education for the kids and grandkids, or for every scholarship they get, you might match it dollar for dollar. These are called rules of governance that I explain in other educational videos. But the whole secret here is to really live your values and make sure that your beliefs, your core values, your vision, your principles pass on for generations, because that's more important than just dumping money in their lap. And so I would recommend you live by the governing principle of equal opportunities, not equal distribution. Require that if they want to have some help to buy a home, that they have skin in the game. They have to save for every dollar they save towards the purchase of a home. Maybe you'll match dollar for dollar. Or if they want to borrow, they must show you how they're going to pay it back. If they can't pay it back in money, they will do work around the house or paint or fix or maintain, so that they have responsibility and accountability for that. One of the best ways to set up a living trust is to have a document, what I call an ethical will, because I assure you, if you have a trust, your kids will never read that document, except maybe one page that says how much they get. But I can give you just one sheet of paper and you push record on your smartphone, audio or video, and if you read down a page of questions and you answer those questions just off the cuff, I can get out of here and out of your heart things that will last for generations, what they really want to know about what mattered most and what you believe to be true, and what's worth sacrificing for, what's worth dying for. If you create a motto or a slogan or a laws or a manifesto or creed or a values and vision clarity statement, they'll read and reread. That'll pass on to generations. Now, our family has all of these. You can learn about and read mine in my book, Entitled Abolition, which you can get a free copy of this. If you watch this next video, it'll show you how to do that. You don't have to have all of them, but I would recommend that you consider this, because that's more important than a trust. That's just legalese. So what I'm talking about here is that we want to emphasize that together we're better. We want to seize moments that matter. That's more important than dividing up the assets. Sometimes trusts kill the goose laying the golden eggs, because, you got to sell the business, you got to sell the apartments, because the only way to be fair is you got to divide it up equally, so we got to sell it. Sometimes that's not the smartest thing to do in down markets. There are stories in my book that talk about how you can keep these assets going and everybody wins, and you can use them to leverage and foster responsibility and accountability. So the false belief pattern is that your leadership role ends when your children are out of the nest. No, it's like throwing a rock in a pond. This ripples for generations. So instead of those 4 Ds, I would recommend 4 Ps. What are they? You want to preserve, protect, perpetuate, and prosper for many generations. Most trusts, by the 3rd generation, all the assets are gone, and they're back shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. The money's all gone. It's because you dumped it in their lap under a traditional way to set up a trust. When you set it up with equal opportunities instead of equal distribution, with rules of governance, and I want you to watch this video to understand that, then you can preserve, protect, perpetuate, and prosper, and you have a system where wealth is transferred in a way that fosters responsibility and accountability. And I think that's what we want for all of those that we care about in our families, so that you leave behind a true legacy, because a legacy is more than just money. If this is resonating with you, if you can feel what I'm passionate about explaining here, please watch this episode for sure, and you'll have an understanding of how this all connects together. And in that episode, you'll see how you can obtain a free copy of my book, Entitled Abolition, and I'll fire it out to you. No charge. You just pay a nominal shipping and handling fee. And there's other opportunities to learn through various other videos, master classes. But this is my passion and purpose, and that's why I do this throughout the country, because I want you to avoid the mistakes that so many generations have made, so that you don't ruin your kids and grandkids. You set up your trust the right way with equal opportunities, and you enjoy abundance, and you'll find that abundance breeds abundance for many, many generations, and they will not run out of financial resources.